times. Also, for your safety, we do ask that everyone behind me please keep your face coverings on, covering your nose, mouth, and chin at all times throughout our safari. Now, unfortunately, friends, due to some unusual animal activity on the reserve today, we're not going to be able to stop at all throughout our safari, so just make sure you have those phones and cameras up and ready to go. If you want to get any photos or videos of those animals. Now, this first area of the reserve we're heading into, this is known as the military forest. And on the right-hand side of the truck is a dark brown animal with striped hind legs. That's an Okapi. And on the left-hand side of the truck is a very tall bird. That is a saddle-billed stork. Now, that's the tallest species of stork on the planet. They can reach a height of 5 feet and have a wingspan of about 9 feet, which is about as wide as the canopy on this truck. Whoa. Now, the Okapi we just passed, because of his stripes, a lot of people think that they're relatives to the zebra, but actually, the Okapi is the only known relative to the giraffe. Like the giraffe, he has a really long prehensile tongue, so long that he can lick his own eyeballs. And prehensile means he can use his tongue to grab things, like leaves out of trees. There's another one of the saddle-billed stork on this hill to your right-hand side, and you can actually tell, actually there to your left there is a black rhino all the way in the back. The black rhino is a smaller subspecies of rhino. They can reach a weight of 3,000 pounds and run at a speed of 35 miles per hour. Now, unfortunately, there are only about 5,000 black rhino left on the entire planet, and that is due to poaching. Now, what actually separates the black rhino from other subspecies of rhino is it has a prehensile upper lip. So just like how the Okapi had a really long tongue it could use to grab things, the black rhino has a really long upper lip it can use to pull grass up by its roots. Now, there are some post-stock animals we're going to see here to our left-hand side, first of which are the Bongo up in the back there. The Bongo are also known as the ghosts of the forest because they're hardly ever seen. So if you can spot one back there, now you can say saw ghosts while you're on Kilimanjaro safaris. The tan deer-like animal, that's one of the greater kudu. And it looks like these are all female kudu. The way you can tell is they don't have any horns on their heads. Only the male of the greater kudu are going to grow any horns. We're going to go ahead and leave the little military forest now. Large animals that can be found here. Keep our eyes open. Looks like we're going to see one of those pretty large animals here on the right-hand side of the truck. It just started sinking to the bottom of the water, but you might still be able to see a dark shape in the water to your right-hand side. It's the Nile Hippopotamus. Let's see if we can still spot him, or if he went too deep. Looks like he went a little too deep there in the water. There's one rising on your left-hand side, though. Now, the Nile Hippo is one of the largest and most dangerous animals in all of Africa. They can hold their breath for up to 8 minutes. And although they are excellent swimmers, they don't like to swim. They like to do what we just saw, and that's just sink to the bottom of the water. Then they simply walk or run along the water's bottom. Now, they're hanging out some birds there to your left, and all those white birds there, those are the pink-backed pelican. Now, the pink-backed pelican get their name from the fact that their backs will turn pink, or at least more pink than normal, during mating season. And later tonight, after the sun has finished setting, any hippos that can be found on the river are going to become more and more vocal. And a hippo vocalization is known as a wheeze honk. Now, hippo wheeze honks are about as unique as your and I's voices. Some will wheeze before they honk, some will honk before they wheeze. Some hippos, they just honk. But it looks like there's another very dangerous animal down there to your left-hand side. It is the Nile Crocodile. Like I said, the crocodile are very dangerous. They have very powerful jaws, but they don't just use those jaws of theirs for catching prey. And also, it's excellent parents. They've been seen rattling their eggs around in their mouths to encourage the little ones to hatch. But now we're heading away from Sambi River. And from what I can tell, it looks like we are heading towards the African savanna. Now, the African savanna does stretch for hundreds and hundreds of miles, so it's probably where we're going to spend the majority of our safari. And it is home to some of the world's largest and most famous animals. Now, before we get to see any of those animals, we are going to see a Baobab tree here to our right, also known as the upside-down tree because its branches look like roots about 9 months out of the year. Now, for a Baobab tree to be the size of the one that we just saw, it does have to be around 2,000 years old. officially entered the African savanna. Now you can definitely tell that there have been some host-dog animals that have passed through the savanna recently, just from how short a lot of the grass is. Normally, the grass on the savanna is a lot more overgrown than this, but as those animals pass through and graze on the grass, it ends up nice and short, just like this. So keep an eye out for any herds of host-stop grazing animals that we might be able to spot. Now it does look like there is an animal den here to our left, and it looks like this den belongs to the spotted hyena. We'll get a better look at them once we get past this big boulder here in just a moment. But there are a lot of myths that surround the hyena. One of those myths being hyenas are scavengers, but actually hyenas hunt and kill about 90% of their meals. A lot of people also think that hyenas are members of the dog family, but actually they're in a family group all to themselves. But if they had to be more closely related to anything, they're more like cats than they are dogs. Now, it looks like we're also going to be passing by some termite mounds. They're going to be on both sides of the truck here, and termite mounds, they've been recorded to grow up to 30 feet tall in height, and they are stronger than concrete. They're made out of termite saliva, mud, and dung. And you know, termite dung might not have been my first choice of what to make a mound out of, but it might have been my number 2 choice. Now, it does look like there is an animal in the road up ahead. We can't see it right now, but the animals are free to do whatever they'd like, and sometimes, you know, what they like to do is stand in the road and chill there. Whenever that happens, it might create a little bit of what I like to call a giraffic jam here on the reserve. Looks like maybe it's out of the way now. Whatever it was. I think it was one of those Ankoli cattle, which are those big cows with the really big horns on their heads. You might see there to your left-hand side already. We're going to get a lot closer to them in just a moment here. But the Ankoli cattle are one of the only domesticated animals that we will see on the reserve today. If you can see them up ahead there, the large horns on their heads are hollow, so they're not that heavy, only about 5 to 10 pounds, and they're comprised of a honeycomb structure that circulates blood to the top of their heads, and that's how they stay cool in the savanna heat. There's also this little tiny guy here on the right hand side of the truck, on the other side of those bushes there. He kind of looks like a s'mores when he's standing up, and he is the Springbok. The Springbok are one of the top 10 fastest land mammals on the planet. They can reach a speed of 60 miles per hour. And they can actually jump 13 feet straight in front of them with a single leap, which is probably one of the reasons why they got the name the Springbok. Now, these cows, the Ankoli cattle here to our right, they did used to be symbols of wealth among certain tribes in Africa, and they were actually given out as dowries for marriage back in the day. Of course, those tribes did not have banks where they could simply store their cows. Instead, they had something known as boma. And a boma is basically just a circular pen made out of a bamboo-like material. Whichever tribe maybe had the most cattle in their boma could be considered the wealthiest tribe. You can kind of see the Harambe Wildlife Reserve's version of a boma on the hill up there. Not exactly circular, like a normal boma would be, but close enough. It's that bamboo-like material up there. Also up by that boma, you might see some dark gray animals directly in front of us. They are going to be on our right-hand side once we make this next bend here in just a moment. But those are the white-bearded wildebeest, if you can see them already. The wildebeest, they make one of the largest land migrations on the planet, with up to 1.5 million of them that have been seen migrating together at one time. The wildebeest also get their name, wildebeest, from an Afrikaans word that literally translates to wild beast. Wildebeest, wild beast. Looks like there's some giraffe up ahead as well on the left-hand side there. And any giraffe that we see today are going to be Maasai giraffe. And what separates Maasai giraffe from other subspecies is their messier and darker colored spots on their coats. Let's see, he paused to take a poop really quickly. His horns are kind of in the road. Don't want to get too close to him. Now, a group of giraffe, like the group up ahead here, is known as a tower of giraffe. And it looks like there's some baby giraffe that we're going to see. That's a part of that tower as well. Now, giraffe are the tallest land mammals on the planet. Some of the taller subspecies can reach a height of over 20 feet tall. And whenever a baby giraffe is born, like one of these babies here to your left, they're born at 6 feet tall. And they can stand up just 1 hour after being born. Now, their favorite thing to do throughout the day is to eat. Giraffe will actually spend about 16 to 20 hours of their day just eating. That doesn't really leave a lot of time for much else, so they only spend about half an hour of their day sleeping. When they do sleep, they only sleep for a few minutes at a time, so they basically just take little naps throughout the day, and they prefer to sleep standing up with their eyes open. You probably noticed they had some pretty long necks, but it might surprise you to learn they do have the same amount of neck vertebrae that we do. That's just 7 vertebrae. Theirs is just larger, spaced out further than ours. There's another one eating to your right hand side there. And giraffe don't just have large necks. They also have very large hearts. And I mean that, both figuratively and literally. A giraffe's heart is about 2 feet long and weighs about 25 pounds. Now this rock formation here that we're passing through, this is commonly referred to as Monkey Point. And it looks like there's an elephant on the right-hand side of the truck. Hanging out not too far from Monkey Point. There's also a monkey there to your left. It's the mandrill. There's the baby mandrill hanging out in Mama's lap. There to your left, that little tiny guy right there. The elephant's also walking towards us there to the right. Like I said, I technically can't stop. But the mandrill can reach a weight of 100 pounds. The male can. And they are the monkey species Rafiki from Disney's The Lion King is inspired after. Now, whenever you see an elephant, you can tell that you're looking at an African elephant by looking at their ears. Their ears are actually shaped like the continent of Africa, if we can ever get a good look at them. Looks like he walked away from this area, but we will head deeper and deeper into what I like to call elephant country. We'll see if maybe we can get lucky and spot an entire herd of African elephant. Now, speaking of elephant, there was a Disney Conservation Fund researcher who did discover that elephant are deathly afraid of bees. So, in an effort to help protect the elephant from African farmers that were killing them to protect their crops, he developed beehive fences that the farmers can place around their crops. Now the elephant will hear the bees buzzing and they'll steer clear. That protects the elephant from the farmers. It protects the farmers' crops from the elephant. And it gives the farmers a free supply of honey. So it's a win-win for everyone. At first, they tried to just put up speakers that played buzzing noises, but elephants are very intelligent creatures. So it did not take them long to figure out that those were fake bee noises. So they had to actually implement real, what are known as living fences. Now it does look like some elephant passed through here at some point recently. One of the ways I can tell are these tusk marks here in the clay, mostly on the right-hand side. Elephants do like to dig their tusks in clay like that. They gather the clay up, and then they eat it. Now them eating that clay is kind of like their version of them taking their daily vitamin. The clay is filled with rich minerals, and it helps keep the elephant healthy. Now, from the elephant we saw a moment ago, if you caught a sneak peek of it, you might have noticed those tusks protruding from its face. Now, elephant tusks are made of ivory, and both male and female elephant do grow those tusks. But unfortunately, that does make both male and female elephant targets of poaching. It's a kind of rare sight on the savannah. We're going to see the male and female Patterson seal here to your left. You can tell which one's the male. He's much larger than the female. He can reach a weight of 2,000 pounds. That makes him one of the largest species of antelope on the planet. And does anyone maybe remember the name of these large trees that we're passing by?
Upside down trees.
They are the Baobab trees, also known as the upside down trees. And these trees actually have a third name that they go by as well. And that is the tree of life. Now they're known as the tree of life because their trunks store up to 30,000 gallons of water during the dry season on the savannah. That's some animals' only source of water. They get the water by either poking holes in the tree or just by eating the bark. Therefore, it has earned the name the tree of life. Now, there are some birds hanging out in this pond here to your left, and these birds here are the greater flamingo. Now, the greater flamingo are the largest and the lightest in color of the flamingo species. They're actually hatched gray, like some of the young gray flamingo that you can see there. But after about a year of them eating their favorite food, which is brine shrimp, you might see some more elephant in the back there, also all the way in the back, like behind the tall plants. They're just chilling back there. But after about a year of those pelican, not pelican, flamingo will eventually turn pink. A lot of the gray flamingo are turning pink, a lot of their legs are getting some pink color on them, and some of their wing feathers are turning pink as well. And the group of flamingo, like the group we just saw right there, is known as a flamboyance of flamingo. And that's for their flamboyant pink color. You might catch one last quick second glimpse of an elephant through the bushes here on the left-hand side, just for a second.
Yep.
Now, there is a sort of muddy area out here on our left-hand side, and muddy areas like this, these are favorite hangout spots for the rhino. Rhino like to roll around in mud wallows like that and coat themselves in the mud. It's how they stay cool in the savanna heat. So we'll keep our eyes open and see if maybe we can spot some rhino further into the savanna here. Now, unfortunately, rhino population numbers have been in decline in recent years due to the fact that their only known predator has been hunting them at night and hunting them with more and more sophisticated methods. Does anyone know what the only known predator to the rhino is?
Human.
That's correct. It is humans. Poachers are killing them for their horns. But rhino horns aren't made of anything special. They're not made of ivory like elephant tusks are. They're just made of keratin. That's the same material that makes up our hair and our fingernails.
Cheetah.
Now, if you look all the way in the back there, you might see a cheetah laying down. He's kind of licking himself in the back there. The fastest land mammal on the planet. The cheetah can reach a top speed of over 70 miles per hour, and it can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in only 3 seconds. Now, cheetahs are the only big cats that hunt during the daytime while the sun is still up, and they're also the only big cat species that can purr. Cheetahs can purr. Oh, there's some water buck here to your right in the trees. There's greasy looking guys there. The water buck take their name very literally. They drink a lot of water every day. Once they find a water source they're fond of, they'll stick by it and they'll never migrate. The reason they might have looked a little greasy to you is because of an oil they excrete that people at first thought made them waterproof. But apparently all it actually does is it makes them smell bad. But that does have a function. It makes them less appealing to predators like the animals that sometimes like to hang out on this rock formation. And this rock formation is known as a Okapi. And let's see. If you look up there on your left-hand side, there is a lion laying down on the Okapi right now. It's a female lion. You can tell she's a female. She does not have a big bushy mane wrapped around her neck. If it looks like she's just lying around right now, that's because lions are largely inactive most of the day. Their daytime vision is about the same as ours, but their nighttime vision is 6 times greater. So they do most of their hunting at night. Now, it's no lazy male lion that does the hunting. It's the female lions. The male lion's responsibilities fall on defending their territory and their cubs, or their pride, from any threats. There's a male up there to your left. They do have the loudest roar out of all the big cats. A lion roaring as loud as it can be heard up to 5 miles away, and they're the only big cats that hunt as a part of the team within their pride. I'll let you in on a little secret. That male lion you see up there is actually a celebrity. If you didn't already know, if any of you saw the live-action Disney's The Lion King movie, that male lion you just saw is literally Mufasa from that movie. They actually used him as the model for the CGI, so he's kind of famous. But there's some warthogs here to your left by their burrows. Warthogs have 2 different sets of tusks. The most noticeable set curve upwards from their face. Those are the tusks they dig these burrows here with. Then they have a second set of tusks underneath those, much smaller, that stick straight out. Those are the tusks that they use for defense. Now we are also going to see some roasted marshmallows with some horns on their heads here to the right. These are the scimitar horned oryx, and they are a desert species of antelope. Because they live in the desert, while we can go about 3 days without any water, they can go up to 9 months without a single drop of water. Now, one of the ways they accomplish that feat is their body doesn't sweat out water they store unless it reaches an internal body temperature of 115 degrees. And unfortunately, those oryx that we just saw, they were declared extinct in the wild in the 1980s. But after extensive conservation efforts were made to keep them from going completely extinct, a small group of them was released back onto a reserve in Africa in 2016. I believe today there's small groups of them being released on reserves all over Africa, which just goes to show that we really can make a difference when we want to. But now, we are leaving the African savanna, and it looks like we're heading into what's known as the Magadi Glen. Now, the Magadi Glen is where the warden has set up his warden's post here on the edge of the reserve, and that means we should be able to see the warden's Nigerian dwarf coats. Now, Nigerian dwarf goats are very popular in Africa, both as pets because they're super duper cute, and as dairy animals. They produce a really sweet, really high protein milk. Now, these goats stand at about 2 feet tall, and they have little hot bellies that hold their 4 stomachs that they have to help them digest a lot of the stuff that they eat. That yellow triangular box in front of them, that's actually a piece of one of those beehive fences I mentioned earlier. Used to keep elephants away, so that's what one of those beehives would look like there. And those goats, they're a really great example of how humans and animals can live together in harmony with one another, with a symbiotic relationship. The people of Africa, they take care of the goats, providing food, shelter, and water. And in return, those goats provide companionship. They help keep the grass of the land nice and short, and the milk that they produce. But sadly, my friends, our safari has come to an end. However, if you're not done looking at animals and want to see a few more, feel free to check out Gorilla Falls. There you can see meerkats, naked mole rats, gorillas, all sorts of other African animals. It does close in 10 minutes. So you'll have to head right up the hill once you get off the truck and immediately make a right to check that out before it closes. Now, unfortunately, friends, a lot of the animals that we did get to see out there today are endangered, either due to loss of habitat or from poaching. But even the smallest bit of effort can make the biggest difference. You all can make a difference, even starting today, simply by recycling your park maps or any bottles that you have with you when you're done with them. Now, if you would like to learn more about how you could help some of the animals we got to see out there today, feel free to speak to a villager at any merchandise location in the village of Harambe about the Disney Conservation Fund. Now, my friends, as we approach the village once again, just make sure that you gather up all of your belongings. You do not want to forget anything in the truck. Now, we do not like to say goodbye here in Harambe. We feel that goodbyes are far too sad and far too final. So instead, what we say is Kwaherini. Yeah, okay. And Kwaherini is a Swahili word that means to go well. Now, my name was Cameron, and it was my pleasure in assisting you all with your safari out there on the Harambe Wildlife Preserve today. On behalf of all of us here at Kilimanjaro Safaris, I do hope you all have a great rest of your day here at Disney's Animal Kingdom, or wherever